Hey, we are here for another week of main stage wrestling right here on WERW Real College Radio. I am Jacy Cola, and I am joined by...
Sam Gelfand, as always, who shouted "Let's go" in time with the song, but you didn't turn the mics on in time.
I told you I wasn't going to have the mics on, I don't want to kill our listeners' ears, It'd be really counterintuitive to do that to a listening audience,
No, but it's how you wake up on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, that's true. No, that's true. They probably had the radio set, waiting. Like they went to sleep
like an
with
alarm
it set
clock,
on WERW, and as soon as that "Let's Go" came on, you're right. I'm so sorry. They're probably still sleeping, and I could restart the song if you'd like.
We're talking too softly. Clearly, we need to start shouting in order to wake our listeners up now.
That's the only way to do it, I think.
Welcome to WERW!
Yeah. So yes, that's where we are. We're at WERW Real College Radio. We are Main Stage Wrestling, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at MainStageSU. But Sam, we were gone last week. But we were here the week before last week, isn't that right?
That's correct, and we were gone last week for a very good reason. Perhaps the best reason of them all, that you got to go to Wrestlemania.
I did indeed. I got to spend the weekend, that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the New York and New Jersey area to celebrate all the festivities that come along with the weekend of Wrestlemania every year. Let's turn Sami Zayn off, okay? He's had his time. Okay, so...
That's harsh.
I mean... Did you see him this week? He's just like, I don't know. He's letting himself go.
Yeah, but he still performed just as well as ever.
He did. I think it might serve his character well to be a bit chubby. I don't know. Who knows? We're not there yet though. It's
still a little mean to call him a little chubby because look at him and look at us. He's still in far better shape than at least I am.
Yeah. You can include me in there as well, but he's a professional athlete. We talk for hopefully a living one day,
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah. So guys, we were gone last week because I was at Wrestlemania, and obviously I couldn't teleport back to Syracuse to do the show as much as I would have loved to because there was so much going on last Saturday, that whole weekend. We could have gone over all of NXT TakeOver, all of it, but...
That's true, you could have done a live report from Pancakes and Pile Drivers.
I could have. I'm not sure how that would have worked, but I would have done my best had I known it were a possibility. Unfortunately, it's too little too late, maybe next year, but Sam... We were going over a couple weeks ago, the last time we were here for Main Stage Wrestling, about how big of a week it was in professional wrestling, one of the biggest weeks out of the entire year in the world of pro wrestling, and now we get to sort of recap what happened during that biggest week of pro wrestling, and sort of talk about, I would say, maybe the second biggest week in the fallout from Mania. Is that fair?
I think that's fair enough. Yeah, this is our Wrestlemania Mania show.
That's what you would like to call it, so sure, yes, our Wrestlemania Mania show. And also, not only is this our Wrestlemania Mania show...
And the Ely Hour.
That's also true, yes. We also only have 3 more shows left after this, of this semester. Of course, we'll be back next year, hopefully, if we don't get kicked off the station. So, we'll try our best not to have that happen. But we only have 3 more shows before we go ahead on summer break and just watch all the wrestling. That's what we go into hibernation, we watch wrestling, we come back, and we tell you all about it.
Or hopefully participate in wrestling as well, as I know that I should in June at least have a couple dates lined up with Full Throttle Pro Wrestling back in Tampa, Florida.
You made it sound so much like you were going to get in the ring and wrestle, which, if that's the case, I am flying to Florida, man. That's absolutely what's happening. Or driving. Driving's probably more realistic. So,
I've told you before, I would love to hit someone with a stunner at least once.
Does that count, though? I don't know. So what
are you saying? Does the stunner count as a wrestling maneuver?
Yeah, no, it's too fake. That's the problem with it. That's my problem with some wrestling moves. So
I should just go up to the biggest person I see and just go all Minoru Suzuki on him.
That's right. I think so. It's the only smart way to go about things. So let me go over real quick how I spent my last weekend, and then you can do the same, right? So
sure.
I arrive in New York Thursday night. Then the very next morning, I go to WrestleMania Access. That night, I go to NXT TakeOver. Then, the next day, Pancakes and Pile Drivers in the morning. Then the G1 Supercard at night. And then, the next day, Access in the morning. And then a 7.5 WrestleMania to end it all off. So, we're going to try to get through all of that and SmackDown and Raw from this week in this 1-hour show. So I think it's probably for the best that we start talking about wrestling probably after we're 5 minutes into the show. Don't you think?
Probably. Yeah, my weekend was a little bit less hectic.
Okay.
You know, I got to watch NXT TakeOver, which is great. Saturday was kind of my day off in between, and then Sunday, since you weren't here, our mutual friend Tiger and I, we watched WrestleMania together. We got KFC. It was a good time.
KFC? What inspired that choice?
Well, we got pizza the last time during the Royal Rumble, so we just figured we would switch it up.
Switch it up? I mean, I get switching it up, but where's the connection between pizza to KFC? I feel like that's a big transition to make. I feel like this should have been a much more well thought out decision. I need a whole entire backstory.
We just wanted something different. Or if you really want to connect the logical dots,
I would like to, yes.
Okay, let's do a far-reaching logical chain here. So Kofi Kingston.
Okay, I don't like the territory we're heading down. Okay, let's move on. And
because KFC has chicken and waffles now, waffles are like pancakes. Kofi Kingston was fighting for the WWE Championship at Wrestlemania.
Dangerous territory. So we can get the actual Wrestlemania now, Sam. And well, not actual Wrestlemania, but actual Wrestlemania weekend.
I see what you meant.
Yeah. No, I don't know how you didn't. So let's get the takeover.
I meant the waffles.
No, I know, but they don't throw waffles in the crowd. That's never been a thing that they do.
No, they throw pancakes, but pancakes are kind of I mean, I prefer pancakes over waffles, personally.
Ew. I mean, it depends. Belgium, this isn't the place. This isn't the time or place. This is WrestleMania Fallout. This is what we need to do. So, what I did is I took those three shows, the three big shows I attended over Mania weekend, and I took just the biggest highlights in my personal opinion for us to go over, because we obviously can't run down the entire card. We would be here for a good 5 or 6 hours, which we can't do, unfortunately. So, TakeOver, I have three big highlights. The first one, Aleister Black and Ricochet get their send-off after a losing effort against the War Raiders, man. Do you remember this match, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it was a losing effort, but how bad can you really look in defeat when you put on a match that good, you know?
It was incredible. Probably my favorite match of the entire weekend, at least out of those three shows, maybe kind of. It was a lot of fun.
I've really turned the page on the War Raiders. When they first got signed, I was like, okay, they're big guys. They do a cool move or two, but you know, how much can a big man really stand out these days? And now they do, and I get the hype. I still think War Machine is the better name than War Raiders, but you know, that's besides the point. They're phenomenal performers.
Yeah, and I sort of get the decision not to do it because, I mean, the actual War Machine's much more famous than some tag team in NXT, so you can see where maybe you know what I'm saying, right?
I thought it was because it's a song by Kiss, and Kiss is notoriously lawsuit heavy.
The reason I had heard was because there's an MMA fighter, a former UFC fighter, whose name was War Machine, and he beat his wife. I think, allegedly, maybe. I'm not saying that for sure, one way or the other, but domestic abuse is involved with that name, so...
And wrong.
Yeah, that's true. Well, depending. What if... Well,
No. Okay, I had my moment, now it's yours.
Yeah. What if the one runs at you with a knife? Isn't self-defense still technically domestic abuse?
That's not domestic abuse. No, that's self-defense.
But it's still domestic, and you're abusing them out of self-defense.
Abuse and self-defense are mutually exclusive, though. Abuse means that it's unwarranted.
I see. Well, what if it's I'm sure there's a way I could justify it if I really wanted, but that's not what we're here for.
Probably not live on the radio.
Well, that's normally where you're supposed to work out these controversial arguments, I think. Yeah. So, Aleister Black and Ricochet, they lose this match, but it's amazing.
Were you watching Tucker Carlson as well while you were in New York?
All day, every day, man. So, again, probably my match of the weekend. Such a fun time. And like you said with the War Raiders, even after their last big takeover match against the Undisputed Era when they picked up the titles, I wasn't too hot on them. I realized that they were pretty good, but I still wasn't completely sold because they're on NXT television maybe once a month or so, which isn't really the best way to build up your champions, I don't feel, or challengers. They sort of just got given the match out of nowhere back at that last takeover. So with this match happening with Black and Ricochet, I feel confident in saying, okay, these guys are great. They don't need to be on TV every week because when they're here, they show up, you know?
No, they're special attractions.
They
if you have to either build a big man or two big men by either having them on TV every week and squashing people, or you have to leave them off as a special attraction.
Well, look how well that worked for AOP, you know? It's just great. So, that was my first big takeaway from TakeOver. Whoa. And then the next one, Walter defeating the the amazing historic championship reign of Pete Dunne by stripping him of that United Kingdom championship. And I mean, if any man were to do it, it's Walter, right?
Of course, yeah. I mean, Walter, another person who I was not necessarily too sold on.
You weren't?
Well, in that I thought when he first came in that he was a little one-dimensional, just because I had seen the chops, and obviously his chops are on another level, in the Kenta Kobashi, Ric Flair type of echelon, but I didn't really think he had anything else besides that.
How many matches of his did you watch beforehand, man? Oh my goodness, yes, no, he's amazing. And, I also love that he just doesn't care about things either. Like, he turned down multiple contracts from WWE before signing because he didn't want to move to America. It's, oh my gosh, he's great. And
his entrance theme is so good.
That's, oh my goodness.
We need more classical in wrestling.
The ones without lyrics, like you said, just classical music, are starting to really do it for me, you know? And plus, you can upload them to YouTube without getting them taken down, too. It's great. It's amazing.
Because they're in the public domain, yeah.
That's absolutely right. Which I'm so surprised they let Daniel Bryan stick with his if it's in the public domain and he's one of their biggest superstars and their champion, you know?
Well, because the song, the composition itself is in the public domain, but not the recording. That's the difference.
I guess so. So, like, that specific version, but
that, the specific version that they use can be copyrighted, but you cannot copyright the the composition of Ride of the Valkyries itself.
Just find another one close enough to it. It's all the same. What do you want? So Walter wins, defeat Pete Dunne's, again, his historic title reign.
Did you think we would have this much legal discussion in the first 10 minutes of Main Stage Wrestling?
No, I didn't, per se, but we also just got into about how domestic abuse is great, and you were just, okay. So, my last big takeaway is that now Johnny Gargano has yet another nickname, and that of Johnny Champion, picking up his first ever NXT Championship win.
As long as it's not Johnny Domestic Abuse.
Oh my goodness, I would hope not. That'd be so sad.
Well, look at what the precedent we've just set is I say, yes, it's wrong, and you say, yeah, but...
I was under the impression that defending yourself against your spouse attacking you with a knife was still technically abusing your spouse, even though it's out of self-preservation.
Yeah, no, abuse requires that it's unwarranted.
Huh. Well, who's to say... What if he knew the wife wasn't actually going to attack him with a knife? She was just playing around with him?
You can't prove that legally.
Exactly, but he knew it. So, there we go. It was unwarranted, but I found a loophole. There we go. Domestic abuse is okay. Isn't that right? I think so. So...
You were saying we're coming back next year if we don't get kicked off the air.
Oh my goodness, you're right. Well,
let's hope that the station manager is not listening right now.
Maybe they appreciate our well-informed opinions. Maybe that's what this is. They'll make us change this from a wrestling show to a purely political show. I think that's what'll happen, because we're clearly very informed and informative. So, Johnny Gargano, 2 out of 3 falls match against the leader of the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, and Johnny picks up the championship for his very first time. How are you feeling about this, man?
I felt great.
Great. Okay, same here.
Seeing that match, I finally was able to put in the Johnny Gargano character into words, essentially, which I described to you over text, is basically that, like, he has a body made of rubber, essentially. You can't, if you're trying to do physical things to him, you cannot defeat him that way. What you have to do is you have to crush his soul. And as long as he has the willpower and believes that he can win, then he will stay in the fight. He cannot be defeated until you have convinced him that he can be defeated.
That's fair, but then you look at the past year and a half, and he's lost to basically every single takeover that there was, so it's like, but this is how his character has developed.
His soul has been getting crushed, though, over each of those takeover matches.
I will say that it's been a bit confusing in the last few months, because for a while, Johnny was a bad guy, then he was sort of a good guy, then he was a bad guy, and then they were trying to make him a good guy again, and I think he needed this to cement himself as, okay, I am officially a good guy again. I'm hugging Tommaso Ciampa, who is also a good guy now. I'm hugging my wife. I'm holding the gold. Everything is okay. I'm a good guy. So I feel like he needed that. And Undisputed Era, of course, is going to be absolutely fine because they're amazing and they can lose as many times as they want and still just be incredible, you know? And did you see the match rating that Dave Meltzer gave this match?
I did.
The first, or not the first, but the highest rated match in the history of WWE. Isn't that right?
It is, yeah. I believe this is the first WWE match he's rated above 5 stars.
Which is, of course, 5.5 stars, which pretty incredible. I was there live, and I was watching it, and after the match, I wasn't thinking to myself, oh my god, that's the greatest match I've ever seen. But, I mean, it was a lot of fun. But I think also I'm probably just biased against 2 out of 3 Falls matches, you know?
I can understand that.
Because it's like, unless you're the Usos fighting Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable, you're gonna have just the first 2 falls there for no reason. Like, it really means nothing, and you're not gonna kick it into another gear until you get to that 3rd fall. And
that's true, but the first 2 falls can kind of set up the momentum leading into the 3rd fall, which is, I think, kind of the point of a 2 out of 3 falls match.
That's fair.
That is kind of guiding the idea of where the match is going to go for that 3rd fall.
And I can get behind the idea that you're going to be telling like a more thought out and a more detailed story because you have those 3 falls to work with.
Like, for instance, how many times did Adam Cole try to go for the Panama Sunrise before he actually hit it?
It's fair. So, but I mean, again, if you're just in a regular match, it's not like you can't employ that type of storytelling anyways. And how much of a different story can you tell in comparison to other 2 out of 3 falls matches, and that it's going to be one guy gets 1 fall, the other guy gets another, and it's just a matter of switching up the order of whether or not the bad guy gets it first or second. You know?
I think you can build character based on how you get those falls and what you do before and afterwards. For instance, it's a very heel move to get a pinfall and then instead of waiting for your opponent to get up, to immediately try to go for another pin.
True. And also, when you watch them coming out and you see their entrances, Gargano and Adam Cole respectively, Adam Cole was the fan favorite going into that match. I don't know if you could hear it, but in person, it was very obvious that there were way more people cheering for Adam Cole than Johnny Gargano. And
well, Johnny Gargano has still been in debatable territory.
Purgatory.
For the past, yeah, he's been in character purgatory for the past few months where people don't know quite whether or not to boo or cheer him. And also, as I believe it was Chuck Taylor said on commentary, Adam Cole, one of the great philosophers of our time with his incredible catchphrase.
Being?
Adam Cole. Baby.
Wow, I forgot. So, I thought it was necessary that Undisputed Era did come out and help him, because that was the only way that they were going to get the crowd on Johnny's side firmly. And by the end of the match, everyone was cheering for Johnny. Like, whether or not you loved or hated him, he won the championship for his first time, and it was a sweet moment.
And that's why it was 2 out of 3 falls, in my opinion, is because it gave the crowd that time to get behind Johnny Gargano. I don't think they would have done that if it was, at least not to that level, if it was a 1-fall match.
I gotcha, for sure. But 5.5 stars, I don't know, because I'm thinking to last year at TakeOver, and probably my favorite match I've ever seen in person, that 6-man ladder match to start off the show. Granted, it's a ladder match, so I don't know if it's fair to rate it on the same scale as a normal wrestling match, because
especially when it's a 6-man, you know.
Yeah, it's more of a spot fest than anything else.
Yeah.
But that match was the most fun ever, man.
Yeah, I mean, I would think I would give Cole and Gargano maybe 4 3/4.
I think that's fair.
It was an incredible match. I don't think it was one of the best I've ever seen, but it certainly had me on the edge of my seat. And
Definitely.
I was just thinking, how much more can either man take by the end of that? And like, as long as, if I need to take a deep breath at the end of a match because I'm out of breath from being so excited about the match, and that's a good sign. And I was out of breath by the end of that match. I was like, man, I need a cigarette. But
I tend. Yep. That's what I do.
Not that I smoke, but could have used one.
Okay, I gotcha. So, I had a point, and it's gone from my mind. Okay, well, too bad. It's already 12:20. We gotta take a break anyway. I was gonna talk about G1 Supercard and Enzo and Cass coming out and attacking the Briscoes and Bully Ray.
You mean Enzo and Kaz XL?
Oh my goodness. So, and then also PCO getting powerbombed to the floor like 15 feet to his death, which was amazing and insane. And
how about the fact that you were like 30 feet from Billy Corgan?
That's also true. And the fact that PCO sat up immediately after getting powerbombed. I'm still caught up on that. It's been over a week. Or about a week. Not over a week. We're almost there. And that's still just running through my mind constantly.
PCO's amazing.
Yeah, well, he's not human, you see?
Yeah, he's not human.
And then Okada,
but he's not a machine.
That's also not true.
That's Brian Cage.
Mm-hmm. And Okada regained the IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Jay White. And that show was great, and I wish we could talk about it. However, we're on a tight schedule. We got to get to Wrestlemania, so we're gonna play a quick song. We're right here on WERW Real College Radio, and we'll be back with more Main Stage Wrestling in just a couple minutes. We'll be right back, guys. Hey guys, we are back here on Main Stage Wrestling, right here on WERW Real College Radio. I'm Jacy Cola, I'm joined by
Sam Gelfand.
And if you were listening at all during that last break when we went to the song, you could hear us just talking because I forgot to turn off the mics. So that's great, we're very professional here. And Sam, I think it's about time. We're talking about the rebound from WrestleMania weekend. We should probably get to the actual event itself.
We should probably get to what the weekend is named after.
The showcase of the Immortals. The
granddaddy of them all.
That's absolutely right. They probably added in a couple new nicknames this year, but we're not
the
here.
Ultimate Thrill Ride.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Oh, that was
Give
the
me
year.
the green light.
Oh my goodness, that was so great.
I'm ready to go.
Everyone hated that song except for the people that were there that weekend because they were just singing it all throughout the event. Like before the show started, WrestleMania, that was what, 33? Everyone was just singing it before the pre-show started. Oh, 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 oh-ee, 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 oh. It was great. So,
are you sure that they weren't trying to sing Sami Zayn's theme and got confused?
that's fair. That was his debut WrestleMania in that amazing ladder match where Zack Ryder won the Intercontinental Championship.
No, that was 32. Green light was 33.
God, you're right. I'm sorry. I watched that ladder match the other day and it was great. What was the theme song of 32? Was that Lunch Money Lewis and Pitbull?
No, that was 33.
That was 30.
That was Green Light. Green Light was Lunch Money Lewis.
Oh, so what was...
Which
what a legend.
Is such... I'm sorry, but that's such a jobber name.
How dare you? That's not true at all. What was... Okay, before we get into this WrestleMania, what was the theme song in WrestleMania 32? This is very important stuff, man.
WrestleMania 32 was
Dallas, Texas.
Was the first wrestling show I ever watched.
Okay,
and I
so
only
you should know this.
I only caught the main event.
Wow, what a loser! Wow, not knowing all the WrestleMania theme songs.
That's what I was thinking when I was watching WrestleMania 32's main event.
That's fair. So 31 was "Rise" by Skylar Grey and David Guetta. I know that. That was a great song.
I'm going to start furiously Googling.
Please do. Furiously Google. I'm watching you. You have your phone in your hand, your fingers wrapped firmly around it, your thumbs moving furiously. Oh, we're getting there. The look on his eyes, the lust in your eyes as you just gaze at your phone. What are we getting at?
Google is loading right now.
Okay, well, while it loads, let's actually get into
the theme song was...
Here we go.
My House by Flo Rida.
That's right. How could I forget? Welcome to my house. Something,
Flo Rida,
something, something.
One of the few bands that WWE has, or few bands or artists that WWE has on speed dial.
Well, just wait. Next year WrestleMania is in Tampa. If you don't think we're getting the Flo Rida theme song again, you are sorely mistaken.
Or Pitbull, because he's from Tampa too. Although, not Tampa, he's from Florida. He's from the 305, Miami.
So long as we get Flo Rida or Mr. Worldwide, I will be a very, very happy wrestling fan.
Which is a moral conflict that I feel needs to be settled, that Pitbull is Mr. 305, but he is also Mr. Worldwide. Choose your allegiance. Are you a globalist, or are you down for Miami, Florida itself?
Well, it's like a president or a leader of a country can lead the country and still also have a hometown, you know? Like President Barack Obama, back when he was in office, he was from Chicago, so I'm sure he was like Mr. Chicago, but he was also Mr. America. So?
Barack Obama, huge CM Punk fan.
I think so. And Hulk Hogan fan. So, let's...
He was not Mr. America, though. That was never conclusively proven.
Oh my god. No, you're right. That was wrong of me to assume, actually. I'm a journalist, or I'm a training journalist. I shouldn't be making those huge accusations like that and presenting them as fact. That's terrible.
There was a WWE magazine feature during Mr. America's run where they were speculating on who Mr. America could be, and they were like, could it be Mark Henry?
I was about to ask if you ever got those WWE magazines.
I never did,
because when I
started watching wrestling when I was 18.
They were all gone by then, but like for the first few years I watched wrestling, my grandparents signed me up for WWE Kids magazine, and I loved that. It was so great. I think the first one I got had like an interview with Batista about why he turned his back on his best friend Rey Mysterio, and it was so great. And I would cut out all the little images from it and tape them to my wall in my room. It was covered in WWE Kids images. My room was beautiful back when I was 10. So WrestleMania. Again, we're not going over all the matches, just the highlights, and there were a lot of highlights at WrestleMania 35. And the first one...
That's what tends to happen when you have a 7.5-hour show. It's just a lot to talk about.
Not only a 7.5-hour show, but a 7.5-hour show that is basically universally liked and accepted by the wrestling fans, which never happens.
Which is amazing, but I think back to WrestleMania 33, and at the end of WrestleMania 33, everyone was like, this was a great show. This is one of the better, most consistent WrestleManias there's ever been. And in the past 2 years, people have kind of turned on it a little bit.
Well, that was Taker versus Roman, right?
Yeah.
Okay. See, a lot of people didn't like that main event, but for an Undertaker match, it was real good, like at this point in his career.
I thought it was all right. I thought it was just kind of sad to see that, he was not in the same physical condition, and he struggled to lift Roman Reigns at certain points. But it was a good it was a good show in my opinion. Even though, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens wasn't as maybe hard-hitting as it should be, I thought it was still a good match. You still had the tag team ladder match where the Hardys returned.
Oh my god, I forgot about the Hardys returning. But you heard that apparently Vince McMahon
hated that match.
Well, not only he hated it, he told Kevin Owens it was the worst WrestleMania match he had ever seen or put on one of his shows.
Which is amazing because he had, what was it, like WrestleMania 12, the Godwins versus someone or other got -5 stars.
How dare you disrespect Mideon like that? How dare you? Him and his Confederate flag, I will not have you.
Well, he wasn't Mideon yet, I don't think.
No, he wasn't, but I'm pretty sure he probably had his... No, that was a year before he got his Confederate flag. It was when the Godwins turned heel that they started wearing that, and they had their Uncle Phineas. No, who was it? They switched from Hillbilly Jim as their manager to their uncle.
Yeah, Phineas I. Godwin was one of the wrestlers.
Yeah, it was Phineas and Henry, and then they had Uncle Cletus, and he was the one that made them all Confederates, and it was real strange, and they just fought with the Road Warriors for way too long, and it made no sense. But, okay, we've already eaten up 9 minutes of our WrestleMania talk, so... This is going to be more of a recap than anything else. Ryder and Hawkins, they win the tag team titles. Hawkins' defeated streak is over, and they had a pretty great match for the pre-show, and I loved it. Zack Ryder paid homage to Christian from WrestleMania 20 with his yellow and white gear. It was great.
And as I'm here with all the sports references that you probably missed from WrestleMania,
yes.
Kurt Hawkins wearing the New York Jets jersey, or jersey colors, in the New York Jets stadium.
Oh,
Kurt Hawkins being a Mets and a Jets fan, die hard both ways. Great to see him not only snap his streak, but snap his streak probably in like one of his favorite places on earth, where the Jets play.
Yeah, I can't imagine how cool that was for them. Because, I mean, they're also both like local boys. They're from Long Island, so...
Yeah,
although they're right there in New Jersey.
The New York Jets also got new jerseys like 2 weeks ago, so I hope that. So like I feel kind of bad for Kurt Hawkins because I don't think his Jets gear matched the new jerseys.
But also, because I'm just such a cool guy, every week I listen to the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, which is Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins' podcast where they talk about wrestling figures. And back in the early episodes of it, Kurt Hawkins said that he wanted to be the one guy in WWE nowadays that never changes up his color scheme because he loves the Mets. He's gonna stick with blue and orange. And so I felt betrayed when I saw him come out in green gear. I'm not gonna lie, but knowing that, it makes me feel much happier because it's a New York sports team. It's close enough. So
yeah, it's his favorite, and it was the home stadium.
That's right. So I was very happy by that result. It was awesome, a great time. And then the very first match on the actual WrestleMania card, Seth Rollins curb stomps Brock Lesnar 3 times, I believe, and picks up the Universal Championship. And what was very strange, a lot of fun, but out of nowhere and felt like an underwhelming Brock Lesnar match.
I thought it was okay. I mean, it's kind of your standard Brock Lesnar match affair, and I appreciate that. I think Brock Lesnar is a big fan of Lucha Underground because they structure their matches very similarly, where rather than a drawn-out 20-25 minute affair, you have 5 to 10 minutes and you go all out and you don't stop moving during that time.
That's fair, but you say it's a standard sort of affair for Brock Lesnar, but you look at his last few matches that are at least memorable, you have Finn Balor, you have AJ Styles, and you have Daniel Bryan, all of which were not anything like what we just saw on Sunday, which, I don't know.
Which, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, let's not forget, those were both 15 or 20-minute matches.
That's true. This was a 2-minute and 15-second match, I believe. So.
And even Finn Balor got 8 or 9 minutes out of it, so.
Yeah, and also, I love the storytelling. That match was clearly focused on below-the-belt offense, very crotch-based offense, don't you remember? And so now.
A tribute to D-Generation X.
Now, 3.5 months later, here we are on the grandest stage of them all, and Seth Rollins wins by targeting that very same appendage, you know?
Well, what else are you supposed to do against Brock Lesnar? Clearly he doesn't feel pain. You have to, you have to incapacitate him in any way possible. And you can't blame Seth Rollins in that way because you're just not gonna beat Brock Lesnar fair and square. That's kind of been conclusively proven over the past several years.
Yeah, but to have like your first real babyface Universal Champion, because we've never really had one, you know? Because we had Finn, he dropped it the next day because he got hurt. Then we had Kevin Owens, who clearly is not a good guy. Then we had Goldberg, who everyone just hated, and his son would dab in the ring.
Well, we had Chris Jericho, who was co-Universal Champion.
That's fair. Bit. No, that's very true, actually. And then we got Brock Lesnar, who people liked for the first day of his reign, and then hated for every single day after it. And then we got Roman, who people still hated back then because he didn't have leukemia, which I was about to say was unfortunate. It's not unfortunate. That was a great thing. But where he's at now in his career.
If
even
only
better.
you could see the look I am giving Jacy now.
The words, they just flow, and I don't know what you want me to do. So then it was Roman. He obviously had to vacate the title. Brock got it again. People weren't happy.
Clearly, John Cena's heel turn at WrestleMania has been rubbing off on
That's
you
true.
as a impressionable youth.
I am. I really am. So now we finally have Seth Rollins, someone who we can firmly get behind as like, this is our guy. He is the one to make this Universal Championship the Universal Championship, and he wins with a low blow. You know, it's like, okay, I mean, I guess to get it off Brock.
Well, it was the setup to 3 curb stomps.
That's
also
true.
not forget. That wasn't how he won.
But would he have won without it?
Well, he had to get Brock Lesnar keeled over to physically do the curb stomp. You can't curb stomp someone with their 6'3" and standing upright.
Well,
maybe if you're going from the top rope, but
oh, imagine if that were the finish of the
WrestleMania
match.
36.
Oh man! So we have Seth winning the title. I thought it was pretty cool.
Would that be a better curb stomp than the curb stomp RKO from
No,
WrestleMania?
no, it would not. It would not at all. That was so great. That was the one where he won the world title, right? Yeah.
Well, that was Randy Orton beat. I'm saying when Randy Orton beat Seth Rollins, where the curb stomp
later
was
in the
counted
night
into
he won the
RKO.
championship.
Yeah, that night.
So next highlight for me is AJ Styles versus Randy Orton, the second match on the card. I couldn't watch half of it because lights were shining in my face, so that was great.
That's apparently what everyone had that same issue, so don't worry about it.
Like a good, I'd say 20% of the audience for that match, and it was rough, and I feel bad for those two because I'm sure it was a great match, but hey.
It was a pretty solid match. I mean, AJ Styles did get hurt partway through it.
Yeah, right.
And it became kind of noticeable at the end because I was like, why? I was like, that was a weird looking phenomenal forearm. It looks like he didn't get the same kind of spring as he normally does, but it's because he injured his hip, and now that makes sense. The fact that he was still able to pull it off with an injured hip is really impressive.
I thought I had read online, and I mean, of course it was probably just a rumor website, that he got injured landing on the phenomenal forearm.
I heard that it was earlier in the match.
I gotcha, because didn't he do a phenomenal forearm to the outside or attempt one? Again, there were lights in my eyes, so...
I don't remember what the move supposedly was that injured his hip, but...
I gotcha. Okay.
But, yeah, by then, supposedly, he was injured, but props to him for being able to pull off that move, which requires your hip so much with an injured hip.
And so many injuries coming out of this Mania. But next highlight for me, and probably my favorite match of the night, which is, I realize is an extremely biased opinion, but still, Shane McMahon versus The Miz in their Falls Count Anywhere match was so fun, and I loved it. And the way it ended, even though The Miz lost, which is something I would normally be very upset about, he lost in the best possible way by just superplexing Shane McMahon off the hard cam structure like 20 feet to the ground and having Shane just land on top. It was great.
And
I loved it.
The amazing thing is that wasn't even the worst bump of the match.
It was on top of the golf cart.
Yeah, it was the most brutal thing. At this point, I was thinking, man, they are taking some unusually brutal bumps this year for WrestleMania, and I guess it's showing because half the roster is injured now. But
also true. But no, I love that, and that match was so much fun. I realize it's not like a wrestling match per se, but it was a WrestleMania match.
If you have fun, that is all that matters in professional
true.
wrestling. You don't have to put on a 5-star classic as long as you are having fun and you are enjoying yourself. That's what matters. Like, I really enjoyed. I've told you this before. I'm not going to say I have a background in boxing, but I know how to box, and I've had some lessons and whatnot. And what I loved was
preparing for that stunner, you know?
Yeah, when Miz Dad got into the ring.
Mr. Miz, excuse you.
So I'm thinking
very disrespectful.
Well, I think of him like Sunberg. It's just,
I see.
You put it together with the name.
I gotcha.
So when Mr. Miz
Thank you.
got into the ring and he put his hands up, when Shane McMahon went to adjust his stance, what I loved is that he ruined his boxing stance by moving his hands so that they were further away from his face, and henceforth his guard wasn't as up as firmly, so he could hit him easier. I loved that.
Do you think that was intentional, or
Absolutely.
it was supposed to be Shane actually helping him, and Shane just doesn't know what the hell he's doing?
No, I mean Shane has a background in boxing. I accidentally just lowered my chair.
You did. It was a really weird sight. But of course, Shane McMahon is the best pure striker in WWE, so it's wrong of me to question any of that.
He's the best in the world.
Well, that's also true, which hopefully we have time to get to, because that segment was the most baffling thing ever that happened on SmackDown this week. So let's move on from Shane versus The Miz, one of my favorite matches of the night, to the Iconics picking up the women's tag team championships.
Loved
the
it.
Second ever tag team to hold those titles, and that's what I have written down here. Love it. The match was but the finish was great with the glam slam from the ropes, with Billy tagging in at the very last second.
Great to see Beth Phoenix back and doing what she does best. She hasn't lost a step, and the fact that she can still keep up with everyone who's still in the women's division is amazing.
Super impressive, yeah. She really looks like she hasn't stepped out of the ring in the past 6 years, which it's great.
Which also kind of cements her legacy as a trailblazer. That this is what she was doing 6 years ago when, we were still talking. I mean, I think we were beyond the bra and panties matches at that point.
We were, yeah. I don't think I was able to catch any of them.
Women were still, 10-man tags.
I think the only bra and panties match I ever watched, like, in real time, like, not catching, like, on an old pay-per-view, was... I had an episode of TNA on one Thursday night when I was like 11 years old, and they had the match on, and I was so just taken aback by it because that wasn't the wrestling. My idea of what TNA was really severely warped for like the next 3 years until I like realized, oh wait, they're not just a softcore porn company, It's not what's happening. So
no, but I love that the Iconics picked up the win. I'd been saying since they unveiled the women's tag titles, you have two women who have been a tag team since the beginning. An actual tag team should be the rightful holder of the women's tag team titles.
Yes. And I feel like it's fair at this point to say that Sasha and Bayley were sort of a tag team,
Well, I agree with someone's point that I read online at some point that Sasha and Bayley's kind of tag team chemistry was limited to one of them holds one person and the other does a move that they would normally do on their own.
But this is something I read online, is that Sasha and Bayley for like a year, like a whole entire year, would just go into Vince's office every single week during Raw, or sometime during Raw, and just knock on his door and tell them, hey, we want women's tag team titles, until he actually just did it, So if they're the ones responsible for that, and like that's the actual truth behind it, I'm not mad at them for being the first champions, Not at all.
No, I'm not mad at them at all for that, especially because, it's two good names to bring a little bit of prestige to the title.
But who is quite upset about that? Sasha Banks, who apparently tried to quit after she lost the titles, which is a bit much, but hopefully we can get to that too. It's already 12:40, so we got to rush through this. Real quick, we're going to run through the rest of the card, the highlights, okay? Okay, so, Kofi Mania. Of course, this is the thing we have to rush through.
We don't even have to say anything about it. It was just the best.
Perfect placement on the card. Everything after that, downhill, perfect place on the card. It was amazing.
Fantastic
it was great.
Match.
Yes. Samoa Joe just murdered Rey Mysterio, and his son Dominic never showed up, which was a bit weird.
It was a decent 1-minute match, though.
Yes. And then people are still booing Roman Reigns, and they still have to mute the mics of the crowd, which is beyond me. How are you booing Roman Reigns? The man sitting right to my right was booing him for the entire match, and I don't know. People are weird. They're wrestling fans, though, so hey. Then Batista tripped getting into the ring in what I feel like is the best possible case scenario for his character, because it works so well.
It does.
If it were anyone else, it'd be like, oh, that's unfortunate. But for him, it's like, yeah, no, I could see Batista tripping.
Batista.
That's about right.
And then, as I have said before, then in that match, the game went to, would you like to play a game? That was some serious Saw stuff.
It was
that
amazing.
He was doing with the toolkit. I had to look away. That was brutal.
That's awesome. And then Baron Corbin finishes the career of Kurt Angle. He beats him in what I thought was the right result. If you have Kurt win, what's the point? So
yeah, no, it is the right result.
And I don't know, people hate Baron Corbin. That's a good thing. Let's continue getting them to hate him.
And Kurt Angle's moonsault still looked fantastic.
Yes, oh my god, I forgot about that. It's sort of a cost in the match, so I don't know.
But it looked great. The point is that he's, 46 or older than that? I don't remember.
46 with how many surgeries and a broken neck in his past?
2 broken necks.
Oh, that's ridiculous. So, Kurt Angle, he's Dunsky, but Baron Corbin won, and I don't know. I think it's pretty great for him. And Kurt Angle's not affected by it. His career's over. So, hey, what do you want?
Yeah,
and then
there's this weird dichotomy where people are like, we don't have real hateable heels anymore. And then you have a real hateable heel like Baron Corbin or the Unforgotten Sons, as they are called on this show.
It's understandable.
And people are like, boo.
Because we're in 2019, and people don't know how to separate, like, when they're actually reacting to the story being told and when they're, like, rebelling against the story being told. And so it's just all those reactions get mixed together, and it's hard to decipher which are which, you know?
Yeah.
So then Finn wins the IC title in what a bunch of people on Twitter have accused him of wearing blackface in, which, oh, come on, we're past that.
We're past that, and Lashley did possibly the most brutal spear I've ever seen.
Amazing. And then Becky Lynch, in the first ever female main event of WrestleMania, defeats Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair in a pretty good triple threat match. The finish threw me off a bit. I don't know if that's the greatest.
Supposedly that was intentional.
I understand why it's intentional, because Ronda's never lost before, so have her lose in as, like,
slightly
shady of a way possible. So it's like, I didn't actually lose. My shoulder was up, you know? And it's out of nowhere with the crucifix, so...
But at the same time, I agree with actually a friend of mine. I was talking about this, and I agree that WrestleMania should not be a place to set up new storylines. WrestleMania is your season finale. This is where everything you've done in the past year gets wrapped up in one tight, neat little bow. It's not somewhere where you have a weird finish to end the show so that you can now set up what's going to happen next.
And it's not like Ronda wouldn't have a claim to the title even if she lost clean, you know? Because she's been the champ for how long? And she's fought with Becky for how long? And Becky's wanted a one-on-one match for how long? You know, people would have still been interested in seeing Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch, regardless of if she looked credible coming out of the WrestleMania match, because she's the only credible person in that entire locker room, really. So it's like, we're gonna care. You know?
And supposedly, if the show hadn't run long, the original plan was that not only was Charlotte supposed to not be involved in the finish, but WrestleMania was supposed to finish with Becky and Charlotte staring off.
Ooh, that would have been fun. So
I am still tired of that, though. I want Becky Lynch to have her moment that does not involve Charlotte Flair. She has not had a moment, a crowning achievement, where Charlotte Flair was not involved in some way.
WrestleMania 40, brother. What do you want? You know, main event there. So guys, that was WrestleMania. We're going to be back in just a couple minutes to run down Raw and SmackDown from this past week. We're not going to have a match of the week this week, obviously, because time is of the essence, and we got a whole lot to get to still. So, that was TakeOver, that was Mania. We're about to get into the Fallout, and we will be right back. Hey, we're back here on Main Stage Wrestling on
WRW Real College Radio.
The realest man. So, we're back here. I'm Jacy Cola. This is
Sam Gelfand.
And we're going to go over all that's happened in the last, 5-6 days since WrestleMania happened?
There's been a lot.
There has been so much. And so, let's hop right into it. I don't want to waste any more time, even though I'm wasting time by speaking right now. So, Sam, the first story I think is probably the biggest story in the post-Mania Raw and SmackDown episodes is the potential unification of the Universal and the WWE World Heavyweight Championships, because we start off Raw this week with Kofi Kingston challenging Seth Rollins to a match in the main event that very night, where the winner would take all, just like Becky Lynch did the night prior. And so, in my mind, I thought, okay, well, I guess Kofi had a one-day reign, and we're getting the brand split done and over with, you know? And that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. Instead, we got 5 minutes of Kofi Kingston versus Seth Rollins, if that, before The Bar came out. Mind you, The Bar, a team that we haven't seen in how long? And wasn't on the WrestleMania card, isn't that right? No,
they were. Oh,
he
were
spun Ricochet
match, yeah.
32 times. That's right. So, but still, if that's where they're at, and I don't even remember them being on the card, to then be put in the
SmackDown team, and they're not on Raw.
And then to be put in the main event with the two world champions, I don't know the decision making behind that. I'm not opposed to it because I like Cesaro and Sheamus a lot, but it seems so weird and out of nowhere.
It was so weird, and then it was also weird to promote the winner-take-all match for 3 hours just not to give it.
And then also during one of their commercial breaks, they also promoted that SmackDown was going to open with a championship celebration for Kofi Kingston, where it's like, okay, maybe you're trying to trick us, and maybe it'll be a sad day instead. Oh, instead of a new day. Whoa, I'm so smart. And so then it turns into a tag team match because the Bar interfere, and then Seth and Kofi obviously win. And then the next night on SmackDown, we get another tag team match with the Bar, and this time the New Day. It's a 6-man. And they reveal that they recruited a new friend when they were on Raw, and it's Drew McIntyre. And so the Scottish psychopath makes his entrance, and he joins up. Collectively, the three of them, Sheamus, Cesaro, and Drew McIntyre, all this foreign alliance, if you will, Sam, are going up against New Day in the main event.
If it wasn't for the fact that foreign alliances have kind of been overdone in professional wrestling, what a stable you have between those three men.
It's pretty
insane.
Three
large European lads.
No, we can't say the lads. That's gimmick infringement, man. That happened years ago. I won't have that. I won't stand for that.
Just a word.
What? No, the lads, it's official. It's the title of Rusev, Wade Barrett, Alberto Del Rio, and Sheamus. They are the lads. I don't want you confusing that, man. It's wrong of you two. So, we get the six-man match, and during the last commercial break before SmackDown ends, Drew McIntyre just leaves. He is nowhere to be found when SmackDown comes back on the air, and the commentary team doesn't even mention it. They just... We're supposed to just, because we're stupid wrestling fans, we're supposed to forget that he was ever part of the match, and that it's just the bar losing, you know?
I heard it could have been something to do with an injury, but I haven't heard anything else on it since.
From what I read, it was saying that actually that was not the case, which, again, it's all rumor websites. I don't trust any of it, but I could very easily see WWE just being like, okay, yeah, let's just remove Drew because we don't want him looking bad after losing twice in a row, you know? And also, the commentators would have mentioned if Drew were injured. You know, like, why would they not mention that? You know? Unless they want him to be this invincible guy who never gets hurt.
Well, they usually don't mention that they're injured. I mean, if you look, like, even during WrestleMania, there were points where people had to have medics come check on them, and they kept the camera off them the entire time.
Was it Ricochet who, like, went face first into the announce table? No, Mustafa Ali. That's who it was. The corner of the table just went straight into his eye, and it was, oh my goodness.
Brutal.
Oh, very rough. That was when... Oh, that was such a cool spot, too, from the men's battle royal that we didn't cover, which was Luke Harper superplexing him outside the ring, and not superplexing.
Did you see on Luke Harper's Twitter that he admitted that he tried to single leg Chad Gable during
great. Wow.
During the battle royal? He was like, well, I'm never gonna get this chance again. I'm just gonna see if I can single leg an Olympian, and apparently Chad Gable completely dominated him.
That's awesome.
And not only did he reverse it effortlessly, but then just said, all right, I have to go, and then suplexed a couple of dudes.
That's awesome. And then, I mean, that's really it with the unification of the titles. It might still be happening next week. WWE, they released a statement about the Superstar Shakeup, which is coming this Monday and Tuesday. And if you read that statement they made about it, the wording is very broad and non-specific, and it leaves it wide open to them just combining the rosters, which I am very afraid of.
As am I, but I think it's going to happen. My prediction is still that we are going to... I think we'll still have the two champions, and I think that the lower and mid card will likely be brand exclusive, but your top players and your top storylines will continue between Raw and SmackDown.
I gotcha. That's probably the way we're going, but I still
Which is
hope
not a good idea, because you have such a crowded roster that you need that space, and it gives time to keep people from being overexposed.
And they have a crowded roster, and people are still on the injured list and coming back, including this very next man, Sami Zayn, who returned.
You nearly went 8 in English there.
Huh?
You went a little 8 in English.
Did
there.
I? Is that a good thing?
I don't know. It just came out a little Kermity.
Oh, no. That's not... I don't think that's a good thing, no. So...
You just got really fired up.
I gotcha. Well, Sami Zayn tends to do that to me, you know? Okay.
Same here.
So...
Love Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn comes back, and it looks like he's gonna be a good guy again, maybe, but still have his goofy demeanor about him, where he's, like, super over the top, which is how he was before he left, when he was fighting Bobby Lashley. That was great. That feud was great. Despite how many people hated it, Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn doing that obstacle course was amazing. And so... Sami Zayn comes back after all these months. It's been almost a year now, and a few months ago now, it was back in December, I was listening to an episode of Chris Jericho's podcast where he had Sami Zayn on as a guest, and Sami said something which I'd never heard from a wrestler before, which when Chris asked him about how excited he was or how eager he was to get back into a ring, Sami was brutally honest and was like, I don't want to go back. He's like, this is like the most I've ever enjoyed myself in my life, you know, or at least in my professional career. Like, he was not looking forward to returning to wrestling, and he just kept going on about how, like, just unhealthy working for them was, like, working for WWE is, and just how unhealthy the whole atmosphere is. And I like that in him coming back, he's not abandoning that totally, because he's still keeping up the idea that, it's super unhealthy and harmful for me to be here, but it's not management's fault. It's your guys' fault, the audience, you know?
That's kind of, that was the gist of his whole promo.
Yeah. And so I sort of love
And I can't blame Sami Zayn for saying that was the most fun I've ever had, because he's on the company he's on the company payroll, and he's getting paid to sit at home and do whatever he wants.
Exactly. He like traveled around the world. He was doing improv like every night. He seemed like he was living his best life, and that's all I can want for dear little Sami Zayn.
Yeah, who can blame him? He was having fun. We all wish we could be in the same position, minus the double shoulder surgery.
Fair. That's very fair. And so Sami Zayn's back. Can't wait to see what happens with him. He just came out before the main event started on SmackDown 2 and was just like, nope, you're not worth the effort. And he turned around, which was awesome as well. And then we only have 5 minutes left on the show, so let's get into one of the other big stories on the fallout from Mania. Becky Lynch's next big challenger, the monster heel, Lacey Evans.
The sassy Southern Belle.
The sassy Southern Belle, indeed. Which
is not a great. I miss her old moniker. The Lady of WWE / NXT was a lot better.
Exactly.
I thought it was better to emphasize her former military background.
Yeah, I still love that her finisher is called the Women's Right. That's amazing.
Fantastic.
But
and it's a good punch.
It is. It's very good. No face breaker, but still.
Keeping with the sassy Southern Belle, it is a very Memphis Jerry Lawler style punch.
Oh man, my favorite wrestler of all time. And so it feels weird that Lacey's the next big challenger for the woman who just main evented WrestleMania, but I guess that's the reasoning behind them having her just come out for the last 4 months, just so people know who she is, I guess. So maybe people that didn't know her in NXT and only know her from strutting to the ring are excited about it, maybe. And I think that's what they're banking on. But
I mean, she's definitely the WWE type, if you know what I mean. She is large, she's a powerful woman.
She's also pretty good. Being like a WWE
solid,
product, she's real good.
I really respect that. I've said many times, I respect anyone who tries to do something different in the ring. And she does a lot of different things, and I appreciate that.
Exactly. And I also love the story that they're going with now, because I guess their whole feud is going to be based around the fact that Becky calls herself the man, and Lacey's like, no, you're a lady, and if you feel too inadequate to call yourself a woman, that's a problem. And so if that's the story, that's pretty fun and pretty legitimate, right?
That's a fantastic story, turning the idea of empowerment on its head. I like that.
Well, yeah, because it's like her tweet actually said that, I'm sorry you feel too inadequate to call yourself a woman. So if that's what they're going to do on TV as well, I can't wait. That'll be so much fun. Then
better than Dominic Dijakovic's Twitter.
Dijakovic, excuse you. You're the one who always corrects me. So it has to be just a matter of time before he's Dijak, right?
It's gotta be. I mean, of all the people that you have shortened everyone's name, this is the one person who you make it longer.
It makes no sense. So, oh yeah, you can take this story if you want, because I barely know anything about it.
Okay, so basically, Dominic Dijakovic, over the past couple weeks, has been trying out this whole thing where he's very proud of his Eastern European heritage, and on Twitter a day or two ago, he decides to start tweeting that he's so proud of his European heritage that he starts tweeting about racial purity.
And I guess how dark the streets are, and just how he wants to purify them.
Purify America.
That's real strange.
That's a little too much.
I like Dijak a lot.
That's gonna be a no for me, dog. Big dog. Roman Reigns.
So I don't know. I didn't think he was that dumb of a person to do that, because it seems so obvious that nothing good can come from this. Even if
but I mean, in a way, we were all staring, mouth agape at our screens. So I guess he did get us to feast our eyes.
We did. That's very fair. So I don't know what's up with Dominic, but hopefully he's all right. Then we saw the debut of Lars Sullivan, and he attacked Kurt Angle and the Hardys, who also won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships from the Usos, which I assume was a decision made because of the brand split, or not brand split, the shakeup. I can only imagine. Otherwise, why? Why not just have that match at WrestleMania? The Hardys versus the Usos for the first time ever at WrestleMania. Yeah. Amazing.
Especially with Matt Hardy has gotten himself back in a phenomenal shape.
He's better than he looked like during his 2008 run, which, it's crazy. So many people have said it, but he has reversed the aging process, and it's incredible.
It's the lake of reincarnation.
Oh my God, you're absolutely right. So, this is Hardy's win. Lars Sullivan is finally here, the most sought-after free agent in all of wrestling. Which I thought was pretty funny. Michael Cole made sure to say he used to be known as the most sought-out free agent in all of professional wrestling.
Which is amazing, because that means they're giving Lars Sullivan the same status as AJ Styles when he first came in the Rumble.
But it's like, he just now signed. How would he used to be known as the most sought-after free agent? And it's like, okay, whatever. So, Shane McMahon...
Well, the hype died.
Yes, no, it did. He had a panic attack, I guess. So, who knows?
I mean, I'm glad he's feeling better, though.
I am as well. So, Shane McMahon comes out, and he's not just feeling better. He's feeling great after WrestleMania, you know? And he just gets Greg Hamilton to call him the best in the world 20 times, and no one comes out, and no one does anything about it. And the crowd just sits there, real confused, because the only thing this segment can lead to is CM Punk chants. And that's exactly what they got. No one came out, no one did anything. The crowd just chanted CM Punk, because Greg Hamilton kept on, I said it earlier. Baffling is the word to describe it. Do you have any thoughts about that or no?
I mean, I loved what he did in WrestleMania with making Greg Hamilton redo it. Thought it was a great heel move. Really, almost funny in a way to me, but I think maybe he went a little too far with it.
Yeah, it was a bit weird. So, then, real quick, apparently Road Dogg stepped down from head of creative on SmackDown. A writer named Robert Evans got fired because...
He left, actually.
Oh, he left. Okay,
no,
that's much better.
He quit after being yelled at because he used Mr. McMahon's name in Bret Hart's speech.
Then Pat McAfee, who was just signed to WWE a couple weeks ago, almost quit because Michael Cole yelled at him for wearing shorts on the WrestleMania pre-show, and then they got permission from Vince, and it was all okay, and they were fine, which I know for a fact is real and not just rumors, because he went on his podcast and talked all about it, which is the ballsiest thing an employee of WWE has ever done. And then Sasha Banks apparently wants to quit because the Iconics won her titles. So, great.
What a whirlwind WrestleMania mania this has been.
Did you see Rusev's tweet about Sasha? Oh, I don't know if you did or not, but it was rough.
I think I know which tweet you're talking about.
So, guys, let's randomize the match for Match of the Week next week, which
What's our match gonna be?
Run down.
Match of the week gonna be?
It is gonna be Trish Stratus and Bradshaw versus Jackie Gata and Chris Nowinski from Raw on 2002.
That is widely considered the worst match of all time.
And so that's what you all have to look forward to next week. And that's
no, I'm not looking forward to it.
Follow us at Mainstage SU on all forms of social media.
Why me?
We'll be back then. I'm Jacy Cola. You are?
Why? I'm Sam Gelfand, unfortunately.
It is unfortunate. So, we're on WERW Real College Radio. We'll be back next week, guys. Same time, same place. Goodbye.